Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm your host, Rockin Robbie Billups, and it's time for another creator conversation. I love having people who make comics on the show to talk about the comics that they're making. And today we got a very special treat because we have the return of the Herculoids in comic book form properly. And I'm so excited to bring in the writer of that project, welcoming him back to the show. Everybody give a mighty warm and hearty station to Tom Sneigoski. He's tripped up again. What's up, my man?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How you been, buddy?
Good. Very busy.
Yeah, good. That's good, right? In your profession, freelance work can't be easy, right?
No. Being busy is good.
Heck yeah, man. Super excited that you're taking time to that busy schedule to come and talk to us today. Herculoids is the talk of the town today. This was a show that I wasn't there when it first aired. Right. But I remember watching it when Cartoon Network first came about and they would play all the old school stuff. I remember that was the time I was watching the Fantastic Four cartoon from back in the day. I love that. Space Ghost, Birdman, Herculoids, Thundar, all that stuff. Herculoids. What a weird show. What a cool show. What a weird cast of characters. Alex Toth. Right. That's got to be fun to play in that world. So Herculoids, you a fan? What's your history with?
Oh my God, I can still remember sitting on the floor, sitting in front of the TV. So I was like probably 5. I think I was 5, 6.
Yeah, nice.
And I can remember like being like totally fixated on it, and it never left. Never left.
Yeah, so that must be super excited. You must be super excited to be working on it then, right?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, it was one of those. The Herculoids is one of those things where when I first started in comics back in like the 90s, that I would always try to find out who owned the rights, and it was always connected to Warner Brothers in some way. And of course, DC is part of Warner Brothers. So as the years went on and I was still asking, I would get to like DC editors and stuff and say, what are you doing? What are you? And and almost every single one of them was like,
Herculoids.
Yeah, there was really like no interest in doing it. And then when they would do something, it was always kind of half-assed. Though there was something not that long ago called Future Quest. That was
Jeff Parker did that, right?
With Jeff Parker. That was good. You could tell that Jeff sat down and he got the characters, he understood the characters, and he wanted to do something cool with them. So that was fine. That was great. But like the previous things was almost as if it was almost as if they just kind of was like, oh yeah, that was a kid's cartoon. We'll just give you exactly what the kid's cartoon gave you. There's no meat on the bone. It was always just kind of, oh, there they are. It's kind of cool to see them, but there was nothing special about it.
Yeah, Herculoids is one of those things that there's a big following for it, but it's
far
not
more than I ever knew.
Right? What's that?
Far more than I ever knew.
Have you been introduced to some of the fandom since the announcement or something?
Well, what's interesting is it's fandom, but also pros. People in comics. I can't tell you how many emails and messages I've gotten saying, you screw this up, I'm coming after you. I mean, I love this stuff. I wanted to do Herculoids for years. I'm coming for you if you foul it up.
I could just imagine all throughout the 90s and 2000s, editors at DC being like just inundated with like people telling them, I want to do Herculoids. And I get there's a lot of love for these properties, right?
Yeah,
all that Hanna-Barbera stuff from back in the day. And Herculoids is crazy because DC's tried their hand at things, and like you said, they don't always do it the proper way. Future Quest was a great book, right? Kind of put it all together.
Yeah, right? That was a great idea, yeah.
So aside from Future Quest, I mean, there's been a couple Gold Key books and this might be the first proper Herculoids book coming.
There was a Cartoon Network comic, and there were like little Herculoid stories in there.
Okay.
And they were they were just like fluff. There was like nothing to them at all. I mean, they looked kind of cool. The artwork was nice, but they were just fluff. There was just, and it was like 6 pages, and I'd be like, I want more. I want to know about these characters. I want to know what makes them tick.
Well, now that's your opportunity, right?
This is my
To
opportunity.
tell us
Yeah.
that. So how did you prepare for this? Did you rewatch the whole show? Did you watch
I rewatched. Yep, I rewatched everything. What was funny was when Nick Barucci at Dynamite started to get these properties like Space Ghost and stuff like that. I specifically sent him an email and said, if you get the Herculoids and you don't offer it to me, I will be so bullshit at you that you won't. I've known Nikki for years. I've known Nikki for like 25, 30 years. So I said, I will be so mad at you. And he was like, oh, he wrote back. He was like, no, we don't know about that one yet. But, we're thinking about it. But I think he was just blowing smoke,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get an email one night. I'm sitting watching TV and I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, Nikki, what does he want? And he said, we got the Herculoids. It's yours if you want it.
Nice.
And I was just like,
see, Tom, you got to push that weight around sometimes. You're like,
I guess
Nick, if you don't offer me Herculoids, no more Vampirella. You cut off.
Yeah, maybe that's what he was thinking. Yeah.
Well, so like the cartoon, there was like, what was it, like 18 episodes or something like that, and I think they brought it back in the
there was another. There was like the 8. I think there was 18, or maybe even a little more than 18 for the show when it started in the 60s, and then they brought it back like in 1979 for like as part of like a space show.
Yeah, it was like Superstars something. It had like Space Ghost and all that kind of stuff. Right?
Space Ghost and the Galaxy Trio, and there was some funny stuff with Astro from the Jetsons and stuff like that. So they brought, and there wasn't as many of those. There wasn't as many of those now.
Yeah. Did you rewatch those ones as well?
I kind of Again, there's part of me that likes to have all that stuff in here, but I didn't want to be beholden to it either.
Okay.
I didn't want to feel like I have to do it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to stay faithful to, the concepts and the ideas and the feel, the nostalgia aspects, but I also wanted to put a spin on it that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, you just don't want to do the same thing that's already been done, right?
Right,
that would just be masturbatory, basically, right?
Well, especially if you watch a lot of these in a row, they're pretty much the same show over and over again. Yeah. So that right there kind of made me feel a little bit better. I was kind of like, all right, I'm not going to be like stepping on any toes if I step outside these boundaries a little bit.
I love the idea too of like you rewatching these things, and in my head, you're like on the floor in front of your TV, like recreating that 5-year-old Tom.
So I actually bought the toys. I've actually mortgaged my house and bought the toys.
I mean, we were talking about that behind stage. Like those toys are expensive, man.
They're crazy, but I felt like I had to. It was just like one of those things where it was like, I want these so bad. So maybe I'll use them as a tax write-off. Maybe.
Yeah, right. Maybe you could. Part of research, right?
Yeah, they probably could.
Yeah. So I would say that you are pretty much a super fan of Herculoids. So what are you doing to elevate that property and introduce it to potentially a new audience here?
What I'm doing with it is, as like I said a second ago, I'm keeping that nostalgic aspect. Like when people read this comic, if they're fans of the cartoon show, they're gonna get that sense of the cartoon show again. But there's a little something a little deeper going on, a little more knowledge. I'm giving you a little bit more knowledge about the characters, a little background in terms of how they interact with each other, a little more information on Amzot, the planet Amzot, and why it's so important to people. That was the one thing as I was watching. I'm like, everybody wants Amzot. Everybody's coming. Everybody's invading Amzot, but why? What's bringing them here? What do they want from this world? So that's an important part to the story. And I also wanted to do stuff specifically with the amazing Herculoid beasts, the Herculoid creature aspect of it. I don't want to call them animals because I think they're way smarter than animals. I think there's a lot more to them than just considering them animals.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, there's actually some like stories that focus specifically on one of the animals.
Oh, that's cool.
One of the creatures. I don't want to call it animals, but yeah, that one got me super excited. That was what I was really, because now I can kind of like get into the mindset of these beasts. Like, what are they all about?
Are you giving us a whole issue on Gleep and Gloop? Is that what's going on here?
There's a whole issue on Egu, the rock ape, that I'm like dying to write. I can't wait till I get to that one.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember like that was one of the things I loved about the show when I was able to watch it back in the 90s when Cartoon Network was airing it, was this is crazy. There's like this rock ape. There's this rhinoceros thing with like, I don't know, like 10 legs or something. There's the fire breathing dragon.
And he shoots these explosive like rocks from his horn and his hand.
And they're actually part of the team. You know, they're not just like steeds that they're riding into battle or anything like that.
Right. They're actually part of the family. It's this really weird family, which I love too.
Yeah. So are you bringing that dynamic in, that they're more of a family and all that?
Completely.
All right. Well, let's just pretend somebody out there, maybe Blood Splatter Chatter, I see you out there. Everybody should check us out tonight on Blood Splatter Chatter. We're doing Friday the 13th part 3 because it's Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So everybody go check that out. But maybe Verno over at Blood Splatter Chatter doesn't know much about the Herculoids. What is the basic concept of the property?
The concept of the Herculoids is there's this planet called Amzot, and on this planet, and from watching these shows, this planet's enormous. This is a giant ass planet. This is a big ass planet, but they're always being invaded either from some weird, like from space, or from underneath. Like there's mole people on the planet. There's all kinds of weird species, and there's this family of humanoids and creatures that call themselves the Herculoids. There's Xander, who's like kind of a Conan-esque kind of barbarian, and there's Tara, his wife, and there's Dorno, their boy, their son, and then there's the creatures, which is Egu, which is a rock ape. He's like so amazingly designed. I love it. Tundro, which is kind of like this Triceratops rhinoceros that shoots exploding rocks from his horn. There's Zoc, which is like a laser dragon that shoots these like laser beams from its eyes and tail. And then there's Gloop and Gleep, which are these shape-shifting like protozoas. They're like kind of like they're shapeless. They speak their own little weird little goofy language.
And they're the real stars of the show.
They're right. They're great. They're great. Yeah. So and they basically, these characters protect this world, and what I'm getting at is what makes this world so special. What is this world all about, and where do they come from? That's another thing too. I remember sitting there going, who are all these guys? You know, why are they all together? What are they there for, other than to protect the planet? There's got to be more to it than that. So this is all the stuff that's like was rattling around inside my melon when I was coming up with like the concepts, because I had to plot it out the first year. I had to give the Warner Brothers people my idea for the year, what I was going to do for 12 issues.
Yeah. Are they giving you free reign, or do they send you notes, or are they like DC and they don't really care that much either?
You know what's interesting about it is the notes they gave me practically no notes. One of them being, could you cut down on the carnage a little? That was the only one that I really had to focus on, was like, cut down on the violence a little teeny bit. And I think there was another thing that I had created something that they said, you know, we have something like that in one of the episodes. Can we make it that instead of this thing that you created? And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. So basically what I'm doing is I'm taking what existed and just combining it with the original idea that I had to create its own thing. So
it sounds like a lot of creative freedom then.
I was ecstatic because when you're working with licensors, you never know. They could be like ultra picky about everything that you do, or like in this case, they just basically step back and kind of respect the creator and let the creator do what they're gonna do, and that's the most fun. because it really allowed me to kind of relax a little bit and kind of like get into what I wanted to do. So.
Yeah. And the Herculoids were designed and developed and created by Alex Toth, who is like a legend in the comic book world and the animation world. He's absolutely was one of the best.
Yeah,
that's got to be.
Yeah.
What's it like? Is that like do you feel the responsibility to continuing this Toth legacy in this book?
Oh yeah, and the thing is that's probably the thing that embedded itself, like branded itself to my brain, is the looks of these characters. There's a simplicity, but also a complexity. There's like this weird. I mean, once you see, if you're like a comic guy or a monster guy or somebody who reads science fiction and superheroes, whatever, once you see these characters, you never forget them. They are there. They are just, there's just something iconic about the looks of these characters. And that was actually a big thing when I was writing it and thinking about it. I was like, all right, who am I going to get to draw it? I mean, who do I trust to kind of give me that that freshness, but also that nostalgic sense, while keeping, but respecting what Toth did with the look of the characters and stuff like that. And I found my man in Craig Russo, who I worked with on Young Hellboy.
Yeah, you've worked with him before, right?
Yeah. I worked with him before, and I'm working with him on a bunch of other stuff, as well as the Herculoids. So I know exactly what Craig can do. So as soon as I got the book, I was kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, Craig would be perfect. Oh my God. I would, I sent him to like the secret email, like, look, I'm going to try to get you the gig. I don't know if they have anybody in mind, but I want to get you the gig.
Does he have as much of passion for the project as you do?
What's funny? I didn't realize it, but Craig's very down, like kind of low key. You don't notice it with him. He doesn't seem to get excited by much, but I guess he loves them almost as much as I do. So the fact that he heard that it was me that got it, I started to like get a sense of that excitement from his emails. Like, oh, I'm going to be looking for an artist. Oh, you think I'm going to maybe do something on that? But yeah, I couldn't be happier with the choice. He's fantastic.
How are those pages looking?
God, the pages are looking really fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's that nostalgia that like you open it up and you're back in front of that TV set. You know what I mean? The story may be a little more complicated, a little more complex, but like the look and the characters and the action and stuff like that is like right out of that time period in that series. Yeah.
I love that you were describing it as like simple yet complex, because that's like, people could look at like Alex Toth designs, something like Space Ghost, something like the Herculoids, and it's easy to be like, oh, that seems so simple. There's very few lines. That's the hardest thing to do, right?
Well, right. Yeah, and you see a lot of that with like Mignola, for example.
Yeah.
That use of blacks and stuff like that, and yeah, it's just it's when you look at it initially, you react and you think, oh yeah, it is kind of simple, but it's not simple at all. There's so much more to it than you originally see.
Yeah. There's an elegance to it, right?
Yeah.
There's an elegance to it, that there's so much that goes behind it. Like, I know a lot of people think that, and maybe Toth could at one point in his career just like do that, right? Just like very simply lay it out because of the work that he had put in. I mean, this dude is a legend. Alex Toth is up there. I love that you mentioned Mike Mignola too, and I love that y'all got him to do a cover for issue #1. That's so freaking awesome.
I was on the phone with him one day, and I was like, "Oh, guess what I'm doing?" He was like, "Oh, what?" And I'm like, "The Herculoids," and he was like, I might have to do a cover for that. And I was like, "Yes, you might."
So you've already pitched out plotted out like the first year, so this is something that's going to have some legs, right?
I certainly hope so. I want the next year. I've even got ideas for the next year. I would love to just like keep doing this one. I mean, it's got so much potential to do all kinds of stories and stuff. So yeah, I'm like super excited.
Have you looked at some of the other Dynamite Hanna-Barbera properties they've been working, like David Pepose, Jonathan Lau, killing it on Space Ghost, Joe Casey on Johnny Quest, just killing it there. So are you like, were you looking at those books like, okay, I got to step up, I got to really develop this out?
Yeah, definitely. The Space Ghost one, especially, I was kind of like, all right, Space Ghost is really good, so this has got to be really good. So yeah, and David and I have talked about Herculoids Space Ghost crossover. We're like, if Dynamite wants to do it, we're there.
Well, there ain't no reason why Dynamite shouldn't. I mean, let's do it.
I know. So yeah, both of us were like, we should do this.
Heck yeah, that's awesome, man. So obviously you got a sense of nostalgia, but is this also like new reader friendly? If nobody knows anything about it, they're going to be able to jump in and follow it?
Yep. When you start reading that first issue, you're going to get a sense of like you're being introduced to this whole new universe, this whole new world, and these characters and stuff like that. Yeah, completely reader friendly.
Oh, that's awesome. Because that's the gig, right? Is to do something that, and that's got to be like, how do you do that? Because Tom, you've worked on these kind of properties before, where there's an expectation from the fandom already, but you also got to like try to get new readers and new fans in. How do you deal with that as a writer?
It's a really careful dance. It's almost like this like fancy footwork that you have to do. And initially when I sat down to plot out the first 2 issues, which is its own like little mini story that kind of introduces everything, I was like, all right, because my brain was going, all right, do I just start a story and just keep it going throughout, or do I do like a 2-parter that is the first 2 issues that kind of set everything up for what's coming next? And that's what I decided to do, because I was like, all right, I got to introduce these characters, I got to introduce the world, I got to introduce some concepts that I'm going to play with in the future issues. So yeah, there's a little bit of fancy footwork that you have to do, but at the same time, it's obvious what you have to do, especially when these characters, we haven't really seen them much. They've never had their own book, so there are just certain responsibilities that I have to the characters and the book itself, and to new readers that are going to say, oh, these characters look really cool, I wonder what they're all about. So yeah, there's like this, you have to get all your plates are spinning when you're writing it and plotting it.
Yeah, you're right, Aaron Smith. Space Stars, that was the show where they were doing the crossovers with Space Ghost and all that kind of stuff. Are there any other of these Hanna-Barbera properties that you would be interested in taking a crack at?
What one I would love to do? I would love to do the Mighty Mightor. He was the caveman superhero. I would love to do Mightor, because the thing is, it's already a spin. I've already guessed something that I would suggest to do if they let me do it.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Well, you also just recently wrapped up Vampirella Dark Reflections, which I thought was great. I really like that. Would love to see more of that world. You did that with Janine, right?
I did that with Janine. Yeah, I was just with Janine, working with Janine, and I'll be going back to working with Janine. We're working on some projects together. So that was a really fun book.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. And then you also just wrapped up Soul Taker over at Mad Cave, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we did some Soul Taker. Like issue 5, I think, came out like last week, and so 6 will be the wrap up of that first story arc. So yeah,
very cool. What other anything else you got coming up on the horizon that you can talk about right now?
There's a bunch of comic stuff that I can't talk about yet. I've already been warned. I was like, I'm going to be doing a lot of podcasts talking about the Herculoids, but I could talk about this too. And they're like, don't you dare. So
there's more, but you can't talk about.
There is more that I can't talk about. But what I can talk about is that Mike Mignola and I we wrote a novel in, when did we write it? Like 2017, called Grim Death and Bill the Electrocuted Criminal. It's like a 1930s pulp adventure story, horror adventure story. And I recently got the rights back to Grim Death, and a new publisher named Bad Hand Books, it just put out a new edition of Grim Death by me and Mike, and has Mike illustrations in it and stuff like that. And Janine and I and Mike are doing new Grim Death books. We're gonna start like doing what I wanted to do with the character originally, which was to do like every year do a book or two.
Yeah.
Expanding the Grim Death universe and his adventures, like the Shadow and Doc Savage and stuff like that. So yeah, we're going to be doing new Grim Death stories. We'll start writing that in 2025, and there'll be future Grim Death stories. We're all excited about that.
Oh, that's super cool, man. So you're really into like the idea of like pulp heroes and pulp fiction and stuff like that.
I love those pulp characters. I think they're fantastic. So getting a chance to create one with Mike originally was like a dream come true. And that was probably the oddest phone call I ever got. Mike calls me up and he says, "I got this idea." And I'm like, "Okay." And he says, "And I think you might be the only one that could do something with it." And I'm like, "Okay." And he was like, "All right, this is what I picture. This is stately mansion, and we hear this voice speak." And being an artist, Mike being an artist, I think he thinks just very visually. He says, "So you're in a stately mansion, and we hear this voice speaking, and it's very 1930s, very shadow, very the weed of crime bears bitter fruit, that type of thing. And as we pan in, there's this skull-faced man with a fedora talking in a mirror. He's saying this speech in a mirror, and as we pull back, we see that he's in his underwear." And then Mike stops and he goes, "What would you do with that?"
Oh my goodness, that sounds exactly like a Mike Mignola idea, doesn't
it? and I was kind of like, "Huh, all right, give me 2 weeks." And I came back with my initial idea, and he was like, "Huh, this is way more serious than I thought it would be." And then he gave me some notes, and "I don't like this. How about if we did this instead?" And I went back and I revised it, and he was like, "That's fantastic. Go write it." So I went off and wrote it.
That's awesome. That sounds great. I love his ideas are wild. Like Radio Spaceman is something I just want more of, for instance.
He in a phone conversation with him, he will rattle off 60 ideas in the course of just talking on the phone. And I'm like, "Oh my God, you're never going to get a chance to do any of this stuff," because the last phone call was 60 other brand new ideas. I mean, it's nonstop.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, you've had a great career, and you're going to continue to have a great career. Very excited for Herculoids. That drops in February, right? I believe.
Yes. February 18th, I think, is the release date.
All right. So everybody go sign up right now. Call your local comic book store.
Yes.
Let them know that you want Herculoids, because Dynamite has had a lot of success with these properties. Thundercats, Space Ghost. At my shop, Tom, I can't believe the numbers I'm pushing on Space Ghost right now. It's competing with books like I'm outselling. Space Ghost is outselling Captain America and Iron Man at my comic shop. It's ridiculous. People love it. So I think we're primed right now as an audience, ready for this stuff.
But you know what's amazing about that is the fact that the book, like Space Ghost, is really good. It is just like a really exciting, fun read. And I hope that people feel the same way about the Herculoids, because that was I was almost like, I'm bound and determined. I have to do as good as Space Ghost. I have to make people super excited about these characters.
Yeah, that's the benchmark now, right? Like you gotta keep up with that.
Yeah, they've done such an amazing job. I never expected it to be. I mean, I knew it was going to be good, but I don't think I expected it to be as good as it is.
Yeah, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Nick from Comic Culture agreeing with the Space Ghost is phenomenal. Yeah, I think it's one of the best books of the year. A lot of end of the year lists coming out right now. I'm sure Space Ghost is going to be on that. Hopefully Herculoids will be on those lists next year.
I would be so happy if people like responded the way like responded to my excitement for these characters. That would be fantastic.
Well, heck yeah. Well, Tom, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come and chat with us about Herculoids. We really do appreciate it.
Yes.
Good luck in the future.
Yes, and I hope to be back promoting something else.
I'm sure you will. Open invitation, man. You always let us know. All right, y'all. We got Alex coming in to talk about some Dynamite books. We'll be take a quick break. We'll be right back. It's always a pleasure to have Tom on the channel. That was the second time we've had a conversation with him, and I could talk to that dude for hours. Seriously, I bet if we got us talking about Universal monster movies, we could just go on for hours. But we got to bring in somebody just as interesting. It's Alex from Dynamite. What is up, my man? How you doing?
Well, I was going to say that's a dangerous combination of you two, because all of a sudden it could be like, oh, we've been talking for 4 hours. Maybe we should talk about something else.
Yeah, all of a sudden he'd be like, "Oh crap, I got a deadline. I gotta go."
That was great.
Yeah, it was great, man. Thank you for helping set that up, everybody over at Dynamite. We really appreciate it. So, what you got there, Alex? I can't see that.
Well, we got this thing.
What is it? I can't see it.
Let's bring it closer so we can see the fun.
Yeah, you're like 20 feet away, man.
I know. That's right. Available right now at your local comic book store for free. Inventory differs per location, so please call your comic book store. But Herculoids Ash Can is available now. That's right. Coming out of that amazing interview with Tom Sneigoski, let's take a look at this Ash Can to see some of the great art. Now, if you're unaware, what an Ash Can is a smaller, digest-sized little preview comic that is given out for free from publishers to get you guys hyped and ready and to show off some of the finished art for the series to get you hyped.
Yeah, that looks great. He wasn't lying.
For the first time in 58 years. Yeah, that's right. There's going to be a Herculoids comic book. We were talking earlier about how there is just a lack of merchandise, basically, for Herculoids. And, going through a time in the late 70s and 80s where every show didn't just have toys, but the shows were based, like the toys were made and the shows were made second to sell the toys. Not having any media for a property can be tough for the fandom and the fan base. So that's why it's just super exciting for the first time in 58 years. Herculoids are here. So this is going to be from Tom Sneigoski, Craig Rousseau. And let me give you just a little preview of the covers, Robbie. Let's see if we can focus. There you go. You got the Matina cover, the Linsner cover, Bjorn Berens, Felipe Massafera, and of course, check that out, Mike Mignola. So that's super cool, super exciting. Focus. There we go. Yeah, the Mignola cover. So I'm excited for this. Should be really cool. And while you're at your local comic book store, might as well pick up the books that are in store this week. What a segue. Because
That's a good segue. That's a really good segue, Alex. You're getting better at those.
Thank you. Have to. Terminator number 3 is in stores from our good friend Declan Shalvey and David O'Sullivan. Issue 3 continues a story arc started in issue number 2, which is Terminator in Vietnam. So it's been a pretty cool. Issue 1 is a standalone story to get you guys, boom, the Terminator. He's coming. It's inevitable. Issue 2 starts the main story, which is this Vietnam, pretty cool story. And there's actually a second story as well from Comic Pop's Sal Crivelli, Buried Alive. So this is the backup story being told in the issues. 2 for the price of 1. It's Terminator. And we've got some cool covers. Let's just talk about the covers really quickly, Robbie. We've got Declan Shalvey's cover, Edwin Gallman. People have been talking, this is so menacing. Cat Stags. And we have David Cousins. And as a bonus, we did get a Ken Hazer cover. But in my opinion, the cover that people have been talking to me most about, not my opinion, but from my experience this past week, the cover that I've heard the most about is the Alex Ross Burning Earth Icon cover. Because while this is one of Alex Ross's first early works, this also homages the original Terminator movie poster.
Yep.
So, this is the Burning Earth Icon. And, of course, you do have the Virgin. And what is the Terminator cover without some foils?
And a great Full Metal Jacket tribute right there, right? I love that.
Yes, and I think all these, I love homage covers, especially movie poster homages or things that aren't necessarily, I don't want to say relevant, but things that you wouldn't normally think of. And that's going to be a segue because you'll see in a minute. Let's talk about Powerpuff Girls number 6. This is Paulina Ganuchow, Sylvia Di Ventura, Carlo Lara. Cover A is Paulina Ganuchow. This cover isn't bad. All right, I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. Come on. This is the cover everyone loves because Kenya Danino knocked it out of the park. Look at that bass. Got gorillas on the bass and stuff. Like the band homage almost. This is really, really cool cover. This is Kenya Danino. Cover C is Nicoletta Baldari.
I call that the Lisa Frank Trapper Keeper cover, man. I love
There
that
you
cover.
go. Cover D is Pascal Quilano. And the segue I was talking about is, ready for this, Robbie? I know you will appreciate this.
Let's
the
go.
Ken Hazer cover is an homage. Robbie, I don't want to put you on the spot, Robbie. Do you know this cover offhand?
No, and you're putting me on the spot, man.
That's the spot. Good. There's a million movie posters. If you got this one,
Is that a King
blown my
Kong?
mind. It is King Kong. You're good. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
King Kong, 1976. So, guess what? Even
The one
me-
with Jeff Bridges, man. That's that movie. I loved that movie when I was a kid, dude. I think Rick Baker did some of the effects on that, man.
So what's funny is I didn't even realize this was a homage cover. Again, there's so many movie covers. My knowledge is nowhere near your knowledge of movie poster covers. But when I saw Ken Hazer doing this, which is a common comic book thing where you write the name of the person you're homaging, I was like, Berkey. So I typed this in, and actually Ken himself on his own post was like, King Kong 76. So I was like, there you go. And this is really cool. So I actually posted it in some of the King Kong groups, and they are loving it. So Powerpuff Girls, the King Kong homage.
It's also a great issue of Powerpuff Girls yet again. Like the thing, if you love the Powerpuff Girls, y'all's books could simply just easily be episodes of the show. Like that one in particular is like Bubbles marathoning her favorite show. She wishes her favorite character comes to life. It does, but she gets more than she bargained for. And I just love this issue. It was so good.
There's been a lot of story in the Powerpuff Girls issues. They are self-contained. So you don't need to read any of the other issues. They're literally their own episodes. That's what I think has been really, really cool with this. Because the writers and the artists have been doing such a great job just capturing, the look from the show that, like, this is just like the episode. I know Amy's been reading it and Amy loves it, so that's my meter of how good if she likes it, it's good. So there you go. But speaking of the book that you guys were talking about earlier, that's been critically acclaimed. Well, we've got issue number 8 of Space Ghost. David Pepose and Jonathan Lau. Cover A is Francesco Mattina. Cover B is Jay Lee and June Chung. Cover C is Bjorn Behrens. And cover D is Anthony Marquez. Of course, we do have the Virgin as well. So that is Space Ghost number 8. It's been a great series. It's been super fun. And the covers have been going crazy.
We're diving into who is Space Ghost and what's his motivation. Where does he come from? They've just been killing that book, dude. I'm not even lying. I'm thinking about right now. I'm about to start working on my top 20 of the year video, and I'm pretty sure Space Ghost is a shoe-in for the top 20. I mean, it's one of the best comics this year.
Here's my question: is one or two? How are you going to rank number? I'm sorry, not number 1 or number 2 in your list. But I'm saying Space Ghost issue 1 or 2. Which one's going to be higher up? Because they're both excellent in their own way.
Oh yeah, I think my favorite issue might be the one where, oh my goodness, why am I forgetting the dude's name?
Right?
What?
Montar?
No, the mantis dude. Why am I forgetting his name? Zotar? Yeah. That issue where like he shows up and he's like super threatening and villain. I think that's like 4 maybe. Oh my goodness. Now, I'm not going to go individual issues in my top 20. It's like just series of the years. But I mean, Space Ghost I think Space Ghost might be one of the best Dynamite books I've ever read, y'all. Like, it's so freaking good, dude.
So, those are the books that are out this week. But speaking of things that are out this week, Robbie, did you hear that we had 3 major announcements yesterday?
I have heard
Here's
that.
A softball set up. Woo! Here we go. Let's start off with the first big announcement. And this one I'm super excited about because this hasn't been published in years. And let's go to space. Or let's have space come to us, but not us. Red Sonja attacks Mars. That's right. Red Sonja attacks Mars from writer Jay Stevens. This is just announced. It's going to be super exciting. Artist Frank Strukan will be doing it, and everybody will be going. So covers, there's not much announced so far, but this series is happening. And we do have a first look at the covers from Linsner, Jay Lee, and Greg Land. So hold on, there we go. Red Sonja attacks Mars.
Well, that Jay Lee cover is astounding, man. Look at that.
And as you can see that I highlighted right here, this is Mars Attacks. Robbie, what would a Mars Attacks book be without a polybagged Mars Attacks card?
So, it just wouldn't be, right? It just wouldn't be.
So each card stock variant of issue number 1 will be polybagged with an exclusive collectible card featuring a piece from the respective artists. So that is super exciting.
I love that y'all are flipping it too, because you've already done Mars Attacks Red Sonja. Now you're doing Red Sonja Attacks Mars. I really like that.
And there actually has not been a Mars Attacks book released since I've been here. So I'm excited for that. Really excited. Oh, and there's the focus. Okay, cool. The next big announcement, though, we got our Red Sonja announcement. How about our Vampirella announcement? This is Christopher Priest's biggest Vampirella epic yet. The Long Night presents a cyberpunk apocalypse and the 100th anniversary. So, Christopher Priest back on Vampirella, back with Ergen Gundas. And this new story is about the Long Night, which is basically vampires Ragnarok, end of days, brought on by the child of Lilith. So it will introduce fans to a parallel perspective of the daughter of Draculon in the present, who's dealing with a big case of postpartum depression, even when finally reunited with their previously stolen infant son. On the other hand, there's a cyberpunk future brought on by Vampi's bitter nuclear holocaust. So, what's cool with this issue, as we still are on the drive to issue number 700. So, this is issue number 1, but it's Legacy 766. So, why is the 100th anniversary? Well, as a timeless vampire, Vampirella life extends well past her 50-year publication history going back to 1969. Yet she still appears vibrant and young. So the same anniversary carries on to her son with a twist that he's coming back in time for her 100th anniversary. So it's going to be super exciting. Again, Christopher Priest has been killing it with his writings with Vampirella. It's been great. So we're super excited for more Christopher Priest. So what else left there is to show up with the covers? Because we've got Lucio Perillo, Greg Land, Elias Chatsoudes, Jay Anacleto, cosplay Rachel Holland, and the recently confirmed Mark Spears cover. That's right. You heard me right, Robbie. Mark Spears. So Perillo, Chatsoudes. I believe that's the Mark Spears cover.
Oh, yeah.
And Anacleto. I mean, this is so exciting. Rachel Holland. And look at that. So, Mark Spears is super hot. So, we're super excited that he's been doing some work for us.
Heck yeah. And by the way, y'all, Mark is going to be here on PCP on Thursday night for a conversation. Ooh. So that's my homie, man. We've been friends for over 20 years. So I'm very excited to have him on the show for the first time, awesome. Actually, which is odd when you think about it. Dude's blowing up, man. Dude's blowing up, doing great work, man.
He's had covers on the Hot 10 list for like the past month. It's crazy. The final announcement is Pierce Brown's Red Rising prequel, Son of Ares. All 3 original trade paperbacks or graphic novels are being collected into one omnibus. One major omnibus. This is what it looks like. This is going to be super exciting. So, it's a prequel to the Red Rising novels. This is from Pierce Brown and Rick Hoskin, with art by Eli Powell and Cooper Ball. Son of Ares tells a future where humanity is spread across the stars and a person's fate is dictated by the color of one's caste. So, if you like the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, this is the omnibus of books 1, 2, and 3. It's a 432-page omnibus with a gorgeous cover by Toby Cypress. So, this will be available in hardcover and paperback. So, Red Rising fans, if you want one big collection, it's here.
Very cool.
All right, Robbie, I'm going to go back behind because the next part, you have the pictures for this. And this is really, really, really exciting. This doesn't happen a lot. Now, we do have a cover artist who does a lot of great work for us. You guys might know him as Jay Lee. Does a lot of great work. You know, he does amazing, amazing covers. You also know that Nick has his art show. Today is the 13th of December, which is a Friday. It's tonight, if you're watching tonight. If you're watching on the rewind, well, it happened. Maybe. You can always rewatch. But at 7 p.m. Eastern time on The Experience on YouTube, Nick has his art show. And Robbie, tonight's art show, guess who's on the show tonight?
I've heard a rumor that it's Jay Lee.
That is correct. Jay Lee himself will be on the show doing commissions. And it's Jay Lee night. So Nick must have been, 15, 20 covers of Jay Lee for sale? But Robbie, I'm going to come in really close for this whisper. Nick is giving away a Jay Lee cover tonight. I don't know which one. I can't win it. But Nick's giving away a Jay Lee cover. That's super exciting. So let's take a look at some of the covers that will be on tonight. And these are books that are coming out. Actually, the 3 covers that I chose are next week's titles that I'm going to talk about in a minute. This is Johnny Quest number 5. This is Thundercats number 11. And this is Space Ghost number 8, which you just saw. So let's keep that on the screen a second, Robbie. Keep that image. I'm just going to show off the finished cover. Guys, look at that. Is that cool? Jay Lee's original art is for sale. So tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, pop on the show, watch. All these covers are for sale. It's super exciting. I mean, just seeing this in person, like, Robbie, let me show this in person so people can see it. Like, this thing is, Jay Lee has a very cool style, the way he uses his ink bottle and the way his lines are. And it's just so cool to see his line art and his work. Like, look at that Mum-Ra cover line out. This reminds me of a magician doing like a, ooh.
Yeah, it does.
So, I haven't read it yet, but I am so excited because issue number 11 kicks off the next story arc. So check out tonight, 7 p.m. Nick's art show on The Experience. It's Jay Lee night. Get yourself a cover. But next week, Robbie, busy week. It's going to be a very busy week, Robbie. There's a lot of books out next week. So let me just power through these quickly to give you guys an idea of what's coming out. We've got Thundercats number 11. Thundercats number 11. Let me get that Jay Lee cover just so you can see it in all its goodness.
It's gorgeous.
This is just so cool. So, Thundercats issue number 11 is out next week. It is the start of the 3rd major story arc, which is a Lion-O versus Mum-Ra. Robbie, we finally got there. We'll see what happens. And we do have Johnny Quest number 5. I'm going to pull the Jay Lee cover so we can take a look. Johnny Quest 5, and this is actually a double-sized story issue. There's a ton of story in here, and it is the last issue of this run so far for Johnny Quest. So check it out. Really cool. This is Johnny Quest number 5. Really cool series. We also have, and Robbie, I know that you've been super excited for this one. So let me show off this special cover. Sweetie Candy Vigilante, Volume 2, number 6 is here. It is the last issue of this volume because, well, I don't know if it's been announced yet, but it's in the book. So this might be news, Robbie. This might be breaking news. Oh, wait, sorry. Don't look at that. Look at this part. It's Volume 3. But I did. Look at that.
It's a
but this cover is very
exclusive.
This cover is very special, Robbie. You know why?
Flaming Carrot.
That is right. The Flaming Carrot. And guys and girls, he's not just on the cover. This is Flaming Carrot's first major crossover. What do we say? I think it was since the early 90s.
Yeah, sounds right.
So Bob Burden did this cover. Flaming Carrot's in this issue. So this is so cool for independent comic fans and fans of the Flaming Carrot. This is Sweetie Candy Vigilante, the last issue of Volume 2, number 6. So head on down and pick up this really cool Bob Burden cover. Now we have 3 really cool Disney books out next week, including DuckTales number 2. That's right, issue number 2 is here. And if you're a fan of DuckTales, you will not be let down, as there's both modern art and, of course, vintage style art as well in these mini stories. That's been so cool to read of this. DuckTales #2 is out. We also had the final issue of Lilo and Stitch. This is issue #8. So who knows what will happen next? But this is issue #8 of Lilo and Stitch, the finale next week. And Robbie, the big Gargoyles book. This thing is so cool because it's Bronx in New York. That's right. Gargoyles Winter Special. This is a whole story dedicated to our favorite dog-like gargoyle, Bronx. So, this is written by Greg Weisman, and for the first time, our editor, Nate Cosby, did a great job on this. This is Gargoyles Winter Special. And if you have any interest on dynamite.com/Disney exclusives, we are offering this signed by both Greg Weisman and Nate Cosby. That's right. Double signed, Greg Weisman, Nate Cosby. Check it out on dynamite.com. It is an exclusive. That's the only place you will get that. Signed by the creator and writer, Greg Weisman, and editor and writer, Nate Cosby. And those are the books out next week.
Very
Robbie,
cool.
The final thing I wanted to mention, though, there are 3 books that are on FOC, final order cutoff, for this Monday. Basically means they're pre-orders. So if you want to guarantee that your shop can get them for you and not miss out if they're on the shelf, put them in this weekend with your comic book store. That way they can definitely order you them. 3 of them are Barbarella, #3. We got Powerpuff Girls, #7. That's so cute. And Terminator, #4. So these 3 issues are on final order cutoff. So if you want to order any of these to be guaranteed to get it from your comic book store, that way they're not sold out. It's basically a pre-order. Put them in before FOC on Monday. And these should be out in about 3 weeks. So
nice.
A lot of news, Robbie. A lot of cool things. But most importantly, so many important things. But Herculoids Ashcan. What a great interview with Tom. I was watching, I was listening. You can see it, how excited he is for this. And there's nothing better than an excited writer, you know?
Yeah. When the creators are excited to do the work, then that is going to translate into a great work that us, the audience, the readers, will get to enjoy, right?
Definitely. A lot of fun. It's been a very dynamic week.
Yes, it has. Alex, thank you so much for coming in and sharing that news. I want to once again appreciate Tom for coming in and having a chat with us about Herculoids.
One more thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Thundercats backer kit is still ongoing. It's still going on. We're close to our 100,000 stretch goal, which is an acetate Thundercats print. But Robbie, I don't think you were made aware of this morning. We announced this morning a very special surprise for everybody, whether you're already a current backer or you will be a future backer. Everybody backing is going to get not 1, but 2 Mark Spears Thundercats covers. Lion-O and Mumra. Guys,
look at these, man.
Beautiful, beautiful images. Oh my gosh. Like, that just screams Mark Spears. That is so exciting. Thundercats from Mark Spears. You get these. These are virgin covers. A $50 value each. $100. Everybody gets it for free. Boom. It's happening. And the backer kit is already funded, so this is happening. So whether you're an existing backer or this entices you to be a new backer, you will be getting this. But most important thing is the Thundercats Classic Years, the first and original 24-issue Star Marvel comic series, is being reprinted for the first time ever. So collect all 24 issues in this amazing omnibus. So, there you go.
Yeah, very excited for that. And Mark is a huge Thundercats fan, and you can see that passion come across in those images. So, heck yeah. All right, Alex, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Thank you, PCP Army, for watching. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups. We're dipping out. Everybody go check out these books. Dynamite's been slaying it in 2024, and they're going to do it some more in 2025 as they stay alive.